now it says it's already streaming.
I'll check the Rumble.
Let's just go with it.
Oh, yeah. Now it says, It says live. Okay, well, I'm going to do this.
There we go.
There it is. Okay, I don't know what that shit was about.
Yeah. It started 44 seconds ago. We're going. We good.
Good deal.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out on Telegram and Twitter.
Yes. Yes.
I love funk, man. Funk's good stuff.
It's a funky start today.
I wish I could tell you
I dig it.
who this was. I think it's Krongben, maybe.
You like Jamiroquai?
I remember way back in the day. Yeah, what was that one? What was that? He had the top hat, right?
Yeah,
No,
he
the
had the
big
horns, actually. He had the horns. You know, no, he was really big for Canned Heat, that one that was in Napoleon Dynamite. The song at the end that he dances to on stage.
Oh, yeah.
It's also
Virtual
like his
Insanity,
other
we
big
got
hit
in
was
the
Space
chat.
Cowboy. Virtual Insanity. There you go. Yeah, good stuff.
Yes.
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 Alright, got the links out. About 2 minutes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they gathered in the chat.
Yeah, I'm vibing now. All right. Mic all worked out now instead of later. All right.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, this is a third row. Please listen, as my menu options have changed. If you'd like to say hello, press 1. Press 2. If you'd like to know if I'm alright, say
You know what? It's 8. Let's get the show on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, big show, fun show. Let me say this right off the bat. Just got acquainted with the guy for the first time. Love him already. Seems like a great dude. I think y'all are going to like him too. I'd like to introduce you to, well, let me say this first, because this is my first question. Are you tired of being called QAnon Shaman? Would you like to be called Jacob Chansley? What do you prefer before I throw you up there on the screen?
You just call me Jake.
Jake! Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Chansley! Woo! Now, I wish I had this set up to where I could put all three of us on the screen at one time, but we're just going to bounce around between me, Jake here, and Nicholas Ochs. No, that says Jacob Chansley, but y'all get it. Anyway. All right,
buddy.
so big guest, big show. We're all going to have a fun, good time. But you two, Ochs and Jake, y'all know each other already, right? I believe y'all have met in the past. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're acquainted.
Yeah,
we met.
I guess I should have been specific.
Go ahead, Nick.
That was an invitation.
Go ahead,
to both.
Nick.
We met once in that real famous holiday, Patriots Day, January 6th. The whole media team, because Nikki was there too, and we had a brief encounter, and then we've met again. We were both on Timcast doing a sort of a January 6th hooligan
Oh, that's
roundup.
right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. So what has the ride been like for you, Jake? Like I said, I got a bunch of questions, but I just want everybody to get acquainted first, because everybody knows you obviously from the iconic photos and videos of the Capitol Kegger on January 6th, right? Have
Kegger.
you been doing a lot of media? Do you try to make that a regular thing?
Recently, no, thank God. I mean, unless they're going to pay me. Nick is an exception because, he's, I guess you could say, a friend. I met him at Timcast. He seems like a nice guy. He asked me to get on the show. Sure, but like media and shit, when they call me, I charge them motherfuckers.
Oh, well, thank you so much for not charging us as we don't have any money. Not yet.
I know how that is.
So, okay, well, that leads me into a good question. Has this been beneficial to you? Has the overall experience now, looking backwards, been more positive or negative as far as how it's impacted your life?
Well, that really all depends. Are you talking about from the moment that, my face went viral around the world and the world knew who I was, or from the moment that the government knew who I was? Because those are two totally different stories.
Well, I would say, starting out, I would ask, at this moment, at this very moment, being able to look back now on all of that, overall view on it, more positive or negative? I mean, I guess another way of saying it is, do you wish it never would have happened? None of it ever would have happened.
Bro, I saw what happened on January 6th in a vision when I was standing on top of my roof on December 21st, 2012. It was meant to be.
I got to ask specifically, what can you repaint that vision? Like, do you still remember it pretty distinctly?
Sure.
I would love to hear
Fucking
it.
All right.
Were any drugs involved?
I'm standing on top. Yeah, mescaline.
Okay, all right.
I was on top of my roof watching the sunrise and tripping on mescaline. It was the beginning of the trip, actually. So it really wasn't like in my system just yet. I had just woken up. I had taken it, got on the roof, watched the sunrise. And in that moment, I had a vision of me, screaming like I was, I should say screaming, but shall I say the images that were circulating in the media and that went viral, I saw in a vision on my roof before they ever happened.
And it was pretty pretty one for one. Was it?
Well, pretty much. The only difference was that in my vision, I was in downtown Phoenix with thousands of people behind me, and like there were these like military vehicles with these like frequency weapons and all these like UN peacekeeper type people, like military folk
helmets
that were like in front of us. And I was in my regalia. And the thing is, dude, is at the time that I had this vision, I didn't have any of these like sleeves right here. All I had was my shoulder pads. And in this vision, dude, I had tattoos all down my side. I had my
Oh,
sleeves
shit.
just like they look now. You know, well, it's not the first time I've had a vision of the future that came true. I saw that Barack Obama was going to be president in 2004 when he was running for the Senate. So.
Did you have the buffalo helmet in your vision? Not helmet, but the
Yes,
horns.
yes, I had
You
my
that too?
headdress. I had my headdress. Yeah, I had the face
Nice.
paint, the headdress, the tattoos, the staff, all of it, dude, to the fucking T, bro.
So you're saying mescaline is like a time machine for your mind?
No. What you have to understand is that all psychoactive plants have certain brain chemistry capacities or certain neurological effects, okay? And what you have to understand is that the brain is like a technology or like a computer, all right? And if you introduce the right software, i.e., nutrients or i.e. mescaline in this case, what you allow your brain to do is unlock, I guess you could say, capabilities that it wouldn't normally have. And this isn't, anything new. If you go 5 days without eating any food, and then you eat a handful of strawberries or blueberries, you're going to catch a quote unquote nutrient buzz. Your senses are going to be amplified. You're going to be able to perceive more of the spectrum. You're not going to be thinking as much about food. You're going to be thinking about other things. You're going to be able to perceive reality more clearly because you have nutrients in your system. Now, what you have to understand, it's the same thing with these other compounds, except in many cases, like in the case of like peyote or mescaline, you're talking about bitter compounds, and actually getting the bitters out of our diet has really been detrimental to humanity.
Okay, 2 questions because I want to follow up on the bitters, but I want to ask you: did you fast before your mescaline?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got there's like a whole routine for that. And you being a shaman, you understand this.
Yeah, the preparation is part of it, absolutely.
What all do you have to do to prepare? I gotta know. Like, do you consider yourself? Do other people consider you an actual shaman, a medicine man?
I really don't care.
Okay, well, you sound like you got the experience, so walk me through the preparation.
Well, it really all depends on what exactly it is you're going for, dude.
Mescaline high to see the future.
That's not how it works, Chief.
Oh, cool. I got called Chief by a shaman. I love it already. This is great. All right, I won't interrupt. You just tell me what you suggest if somebody were to attempt to get the best out of their mescaline. Let's just stick with mescaline. Just, 'cause I'm sure it changes from peyote to LSD to DMT, stuff like that.
Some people say you're supposed to drink orange juice for vitamin C before you take LSD. I've heard that. I don't know if there's any similar preparation for mescaline, though.
Well, that's why we're asking the expert.
I honestly, you guys, in all honesty, if that's really what you want to talk about, we can talk about that.
Let's do it.
Well, what you have to understand, though, is that this isn't just like, okay, this is religious for me. Okay, what you have to understand is that there is thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years of experience, of science, of psychology, of preparation, of intuitive understanding that is going into this formula that it is that we're talking about. And it's very different per ceremony. So like, for example, you could have a fire ceremony that you do that's going to be very different from a teepee ceremony, that's going to be very different from a sweat lodge ceremony. And all of them are going to be very different if you introduce medicine, okay, or peyote or ayahuasca, or even something like campo, the frog medicine where they burn your skin and you like throw up and stuff, okay? So what we're talking about here, yeah, dude, it's something. I tried that too. It's something else. My face got all swelled up. It looked like a frog.
There are so many rabbit holes to go down here, and I want to get out every single one of them. But anyway, continue on. I'm already fascinated with all of these different avenues.
Yeah. So, point is, dude, is that what you're talking about here is like you're not able to commercialize it. Okay, you can't package it and be like, here you go, you're a shaman now. That's not how it works, okay? We're talking about levels, we're talking about layers to the self, to the universe, to understanding, to your to understanding yourself and the world and your relationship to it. And there's all different sorts of dynamics that go into that most people don't even conceive of because they're worried about Kim Kardashian's ass or who it is that Donald Trump said is, pissing him off today. Whatever it is, it's fucking ridiculous. Nobody's really talking about anything that fucking matters. All right. So if you want to start diving into yes, that's totally by design. Dude, what was that? I think his guy's name was Casey, director Casey, 1981, said something along the lines of when everything the American people believe is false, we'll know our disinformation is complete or something like that. So yeah, it's by design. But anyway, that's the reason why these plants are illegal, okay, is because all of that, all right? So the government has created all these little bubbles. They put everybody in these little cognitive bubbles based on propaganda that they have given the American people through the various media outlets that they control, through the 6 major media corporations that own all the fucking media, all right? Or through, social media, which is run and started by this, the intelligence agencies. So when you look at it and you see that the whole thing is like a massive MK Ultra construct designed to create all these divisive content and create these compartmentalized and propagandized groups of warring tribes, each arguing over what disinformation or misinformation is true. When you realize that, then you realize that these plants, they open you up to the realization that's all bullshit. That it's all bullshit, and that like about 20, maybe 15% of it is true. And I know that from experience because I got to see the stuff they were saying about me in the media. Nick knows from experience because he got to see the stuff they were saying about him in the media. So this isn't anything new. Anyone that's ever been caught in a media storm knows that this is the case. Now, why is it the case and why are these plants still illegal? Well, the answer is because there's political backlash behind every single one of these news stories. The propaganda ends up being the reason for the radical decisions being made in the Congress, or the fact that we have another Build Back Better bill, or big beautiful bill. It's all 666. That's being pushed through the Congress again. Okay, so the media distorts things so that the truth is more digestible. They're basically covering a turd in sugar, all right? And these plants open you up to that fact.
Let me go back to something you said, because most of us are very well aware that with the MK Ultra programs, they were definitely using psychedelics and hallucinogenics to see how they affected people. Do you think it's possible that the people perpetrating those programs and leading those programs actually did those same drugs in order to figure out how to use them to their own benefit?
Oh, absolutely. What you have to understand here is that there's levels to this, okay? And there's layers to not just psychedelics, but to the mind, and the layers and the levels of complexity to neural connectivity, and the layers and the levels or the dimensions of reality that those layers of complex neural connectivity basically allow you access to. It's actually kind of the other way around. It's like once your consciousness explores those dimensions, then these, neurons align in your brain and these new dimensions form. But consciousness comes before body and matter. I'm not going to get into it. Case in point here is that the matter is secondary, that the consciousness is primary. And when the consciousness shifts, then there's no way of putting, there's no way of putting the mind back in the box. Once you stretch a mind to new dimensions, it can't go back to the same dimension it was in before. Okay. And that is the lid that they're trying to keep on this stuff with all this propaganda. That's why the pharmaceutical companies are trying to control how things like psilocybin or mescaline or even cannabis are introduced into the market.
I feel like you got a book in your future. Ochs, where are you at on this whole thing?
I bought a cactus once because it was labeled as Peruvian torch, and I thought it was drugs, but it turned out to be Peruvian apple, and it's delicious, but not psychedelic.
All right. Well, okay. But Jake, to go back a little bit, I'm probably going to be doing that a lot, by the way. I'm trying to keep all this in mind as you're saying it. It's a lot of stuff to digest, if you will. Back to the mescaline prep. Give me the short list of what you got to do. A little bit of fasting. Do you take any vitamins?
Oh, no, no, no. It's different for everybody. I'll give you a good example, though. Like in the Amazon, the shamans in the Amazon will do something like eat nothing but bananas for a week because bananas are rich in serotonin, right? So they'll eat
Okay.
nothing but bananas so that they can get all this serotonin in their system, right? And they're in that sense, they're also cleansing their system because they're not eating anything else, right? They're not eating any meat or anything like that. So they're not contaminating their body with the idea of like something that's been killed or, something dead, etc. Right? So then when they trip on the ayahuasca or on the mushrooms or on the cactus or whatever, then they have all this serotonin in their system that dumps, and then they have a way harder trip, right? And what the shamans in Peru will do, they got these huts. They're like probably the size of like a dog house, just maybe a little bit bigger in some cases. Like, that some of them, they have them maybe like a small shed, and they made them out of stone and mud. And it's got a little dog door size hole in it, and they'll crawl in there, and then they'll trip balls for 12 hours, dude. Like just totally go into the ether.
Do they allow their dogs to use it in between their spiritual trips? Like, because I assume they have
I
dogs.
think you're making light of something that if the shoe was on the other foot, you might not be so glad I'm making light of your sacred spaces,
Okay.
sir.
Okay, speaking of that, do you network with other shamans? Like, has anybody hit you up and be like, hey, I'm in Peru and I'm digging what you're saying. We should collaborate or anything.
The government has me totally isolated.
How so?
Well, you're familiar with the NSA, right?
Very.
Okay, so yeah, they got me siloed, bruh. Nothing gets in or out of my comms without their fucking permission. So
Do you think-
if they don't want me talking to somebody or they don't want somebody talking to me, then I don't have any idea if my messages are getting through, and that's why, or people's messages are getting through to me, and that's why I'm not hearing anything. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I feel like everybody is being monitored, but some people more than others. Maybe, let me rephrase. I bet most people's information is being collected, but not necessarily studied. Somebody like yours is probably under a microscope. And you're right, they do have the capabilities to, in an MK Ultra fashion, like, not let some of your stuff through, let other things through to you, and not
let me
through
tell you
to
a
you.
tale.
I feel like it's psychological
jump in.
warfare. Go ahead.
So
It is psychological warfare.
I knew a girl in the NSA back in the day. We used to date a little bit, and I asked her, what's it like? And she said she would walk by Edward Snowden's desk every day in Hawaii. They still had it cordoned off. It was a big deal. I said, well, I get that, but what can you see? She says they can see everything. And when the girls start to spy on their boyfriends so they can pick out names, they get escorted out of the building. So that was back years ago, but they had the capability then. It was done. There was discipline involved, but I'm sure that now, if you have a high enough security clearance, you can look at whatever you want. Whoever it is, you type in the name, it's going to come up.
I feel like that's why they're going to be
let me
introducing
say something.
Palantir and different AIs and whatnot, is so they can remove that human element, except for a select few
Right.
people. You were going to say something, Jake. Go ahead.
Oh, well, no, I'm really glad you brought that up. Let's go that direction instead.
Do it.
Okay, so y'all remember that shit that happened in fucking LA, right? Where that dude was standing on top of that police vehicle, that burning police vehicle, waving the Mexican flag?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing happened to that motherfucker. But I got served how much time in behind bars? All right, now, moving on. What happened in LA was actually a black magic ritual that was being created by Mossad and the CIA. And when I say it's a black magic ritual, what do I mean by that? What I mean is that they intentionally created chaos, and then from that chaos, they attempted to create a new order. In that, they created a riot so that the riot would cause criminals and other people to come out of the woodwork. Then they could get their face on Palantir. They could get their facial recognition software information. Then they got them in the security database. They can either pick them up or they can follow them around, et cetera, et cetera. And then they say this is a new order because of this chaos that they created. Now, what's really interesting about it is that it's also a black magic, ritual. It's a demoralization ritual because Mossad did all of this on American soil, and then they sent American troops to go and fight in this, skirmish that they created on American soil. Then they gave these American troops the bare fucking minimum of supplies. They showed everybody on the internet that they were giving them the bare minimum of supplies and putting them in harm's way, mind you. And then to top it all off, shortly thereafter, they sent a bunch of money and weapons and stuff over to Israel. You see? So there's different ways that you can demoralize a nation, or different ways that you can form a quote unquote black magic ritual or create new
It's
order
never the
out of
white
chaos.
magic.
Well, in my case, it is.
Oh.
And
That's
white
good magic,
magic
though,
is
right?
life magic. White magic is life magic. Black magic is death magic. Okay?
Sounds about
so
right.
there's a very large difference. There's a very large difference between using death to create certain effects in the world, and then there's a very large difference between that and using life to create effects in the world.
All right.
The military uses death. That's why, in what's it called? War pigs. Generals gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Evil minds that plot destruction. Sorcerer of death's construction. In
He
the
did
fields,
say
their
that, and
bodies
he would know.
burning
He's
as
the Prince
War
of
Machine
Darkness.
keeps turning.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Ozzy.
Let me ask you something, man. Do you really want to know this shit, or are you just fucking
Yeah.
around with me?
Well, we're trying to have a fun conversation and a good conversation. I think it's going well. But we also want to get to know you, too, on a deeper level, which brings me to another question. We can go back to the other one, too. But people are wanting to know, what's your favorite food? I know that sounds cliche, but that's a good question.
Well, look, let's get back to the brighter side of things, shall we? Case in point, AI, Israel, the Fed, all of these things are kind of converging right now. The debt-based currency, the new world order, the one world government, and they're all beginning to collapse. And in that collapse, what we're seeing is the mental worlds, or those bubbles that we were talking about earlier that the government has placed people in, are beginning to pop without the need for psychedelics. That's actually the really cool part here, is that we don't need people tripping on mushrooms to realize the government's full of shit and that everything on TV is fucking crap. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of a good thing.
I would say so. I would agree. Ochs, where are you at on this so far?
So if there is this mass realization that what people have been told is not so, which I think, we're here, our audience is easily on that page. But when I say mass realization, I mean like a boomer awakening. Where does that put us? Like, is that societal collapse or societal evolution? Is it really practically good or bad for that week? You know
Is
what I
there a
mean?
difference at this point?
Well, yes and no. So that's a very good point. Let's talk about that. So it is societal collapse and societal evolution, in that what's going to happen is there's going to be a cognitive collapse for large portions of the population. They're going to have a cognitive dissonance. Their bubble is going to pop. There's nothing they can do about the fact that their cognitive bubble is going to pop. There's going to
can
be
see them
certain
going crazy
emotional
when that
effects.
happens.
Well, but no, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, that lie is how these motherfuckers that own the Fed have stayed in charge, dude. It's not so much that our reality is going to dissolve and the world's going to fucking end because we end the Fed. No. What it is their world ends, okay, because we end the Fed. Their control system ends because we end the Fed, okay? It's not a global collapse, okay? We don't need any of that. I've already laid out several times. The intelligence agencies already fucking know. They're just giving me shit. That's why they're delaying all of this bullshit. But I've already got the layout, dude, of how we can transition from one economy to another, how we can use the old economy as scaffolding for the new one, how we can create a new grid system, how we can create new cities, how we can create a new infrastructure. Seriously, you guys, within a year, maybe two, and be in a whole different place as a nation, as a world, without any war, total abundance of food. No fucking joke, dude. We got the tech. What we don't have is the cooperation of the government and the media, and that's because they're owned by the people that own the fucking Fed.
Right. This is a question I keep going back to, and that is if somebody like you is aware of this, and I feel like somebody like me is aware of this, do you think that they haven't already gamed out these same hypotheticals on their end? In other words, do you think they don't already have a plan for if the Fed were to end, that they don't already have the next phase of their plan pulled up? Like, how do you game that out? Like, let's talk chess here, right? How do you stay a move ahead of them when they're probably several moves ahead of us?
Right.
Okay, well, what we're talking about here is people that plan decades and centuries ahead, correct? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, what we're talking about here is essentially fifth generation warfare, if you want to quote General Flynn and his ilk. Okay?
Now, fifth generation tech-wise or people-wise?
Both. Well, technically,
Okay.
espionage is fifth generation warfare, but tech just made it a lot easier because then you could basically surveil and mass propagandize and target individuals much more easily than, back in the day with like a 007 type program. Does that make sense?
For sure. Yeah, totally.
Okay. All right. So, our evolution as a nation is going to be predicated on the return to our founding principles, which is basically the abolition of the surveillance state and the mass propaganda apparatus that has been used to push all of this garbage on the people and to get them to accept their servitude. Now, the mental war that we are fighting is actually the battleground that must and will shift in the very near future, that must and will shift regarding the Fed and regarding this idea of their quote unquote plan that they have that's decades and centuries ahead. Because guess what? I got my own plan, okay? And mine's a lot better than theirs. I assure you of that. All right? So trust me when I say these motherfuckers got a house of cards, and that's fucking it. You know what Secret Service is? Secret Service gives pedophiles a reason to feel comfortable about the fact that they're not going to get fucking arrested. All right? That's all Secret Service protection does for these fucking people in D.C., all right? If they didn't have Secret Service protection and they're going around asking people for fucking tax money while they're also fucking kids, I promise you, if we didn't have the system that we do that's basically holding the whole country at gunpoint, we'd live in a whole different fucking world, all right?
Kamala Harris just had her
understand.
Secret Service detail removed by Trump. Do you think that she'll start acting differently now, maybe doing some of the things you're talking about? Like without this
no.
essentially
I think
qualified
Kamala Harris
immunity?
is a puppet Listen, I think Kamala Harris is a puppet just like Trump is a puppet, dude. I know because I was behind the scenes with the Trump administration, dude. I was giving them fucking advice and they were taking it, bruh. Okay?
Can you be specific about what advice?
Know. Oh, fucking A, dude. That whole thing about you got 2 weeks, all hell's going to break loose in the Middle East unless the hostages are returned. That was my idea. But what I did is I told the Trump administration, I told Trump, I said, look, you guys got 2 weeks before you get in office. What do you need to tell these illegal immigrants that are in our country right now? What do you need to tell them to get them to leave willingly? Like, what do you have to get to inside their heads? What do you got to say to these people that are here for the right reasons, that are trying to escape these evil fuckers and these cartels? And what do you got to say to the cartel members to get them out so they'll self-deport, so that our people in uniform aren't put in harm's way, so that American citizens aren't put in harm's way, so that other innocent people aren't put in harm's way, or family members or whatever? Like, what do we got to do? You got 2 weeks. What do we got to say to these people? And some motherfucker goes out there and uses that shit to scare the shit out of millions of people and threaten people for fucking Israel. And I mean, it's no surprise considering he just bombed Iran for Netanyahu.
Well, we kind of bomb everything for Netanyahu and the Likud party. It's kind of what we do.
We've been busy.
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Did you put a bug in his ear about that? Did you say, Trump, knock that off? We got bigger fish to fry.
Actually, as a matter of fucking fact, I did. That whole thing about Trump talking about we're going to buy Gaza, you can thank me for that. I didn't tell him to say you're going to buy Gaza. I just told him to say, like, look, these fucking people are crazy. Do not allow them to take Gaza. I'm telling you right now, do not allow. If you want to like save your soul, if you want to like be in heaven, you need to fucking make sure they don't take Gaza. And then he said, we're going to buy Gaza.
Well, I saw recently that Netanyahu went ahead and green-lighted that they are going to take Gaza. Do you think that there's a point of contention there between Netanyahu and Trump? And if there is, how's that going to get sorted out?
Well, what you have to understand is all these people are pedophiles and Masons. Okay, they're all Masons, all right, and they're all in many cases homosexuals as well. Okay, a lot of them abuse children. Like panda eyes is one thing that is common in symbolism. The spiral triangle is another thing that's common. The heart within a heart or the hand within a hand is another thing that's common. A lot of this stuff is common knowledge to the pedophiles that do all this stuff. So, the people like, Netanyahu or Donald Trump or whoever, John Kerry, George Bush. I mean, they're both skull and bones. I know Trump's a Mason. I know Netanyahu's a Mason. I mean, all of this stuff is just black magic faggot shit. Trust me when I say that. It's black magic faggot shit.
We trust you.
Yeah. Ochs, where are you on that? Are you thinking the same thing? Black magic faggot shit?
I mean, I'm not thinking black magic faggot shit. I think it's a concise phrase that does justice to the situation.
Is there such thing as white magic straight shit? Where you're just like, hell yeah, that's where we need to be heading.
Hey, it's the only thing I speak, motherfucker.
Let's get it. I want to hear more about this. I'm loving it. I'm loving the title more than anything. White magic, how does that work? How do we use that to our advantage?
Okay, so now we get into scripture. Okay.
Oh,
are you familiar with this notion of living waters?
No,
Yeah.
I can't say that. Ochs, did you say yeah? I'm saying no. Ochs, what are you saying? Yes or no? Whoop,
Yeah, I've definitely heard that. That's part of scripture. That's a line from Jesus. And I have a follow-up question to this, but you go on where you're going with this first, all right?
No, I want your follow-up question first. I can always remember. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, all right. So if we're starting down the white magic path, are you talking about occult stuff like the right-wing version of that is a right-wing tradition with the occult with Evola and these people? Is that kind of what you're getting into, or are you taking a different direction?
Okay, so I'm talking about shamanism. Okay, shamanism is not on the spectrum as far as the occult is concerned. What it is the occult is a form of shamanism. Just like all religions are different forms of shamanism. Shamanism is the first religion, you guys. It's the first religion. It's the oldest religion, and all religions are at their core, at their foundation, are practicing shamanism. And I could get into that if you want, but case in point, this occult stuff is a form of shamanism that is oriented around very specific rituals that are done either in very specific tongues or very specific stones or like if you're talking about like Goetia and demonic magic, there's different ingredients that you use. Like it gets weird. Okay. The white magic side, you could say that like witchcraft could be used for good in that a witch is going to know what plant is going to cure your illness. And that could be considered white magic because you're using plants, you're using life to give life.
Right. So I've actually been to South America and met real shamans and shit. I didn't trip with them, but one of their responsibilities that they told me was to literally search out new plants and find uses for plants they already knew. Like a lot of their life was testing things in a practical way. There's a spiritual element, of course, but it's finding out what a leaf does. You know what I mean?
Yes. Now think about this, and this is very interesting. I'm glad you brought that up because we are talking about a science here, okay? In the Amazon, in a square mile of the Amazon, there's over 150,000 species of plants, okay? Now, how is it that these quote-unquote primitive people in the Amazon are able to figure out to combine the vine of one plant with the leaf of another to get ayahuasca when you need an MAOI or a monoamine oxidase inhibitor in order for the DMT or dimethyltryptamine to be able to get into your bloodstream? How the fuck
is that why it doesn't work on me?
Because if you eat,
yes, you can insufflate it and it'll work, but if you want to ingest it,
I smoked more of that than anybody had ever seen, but it did nothing. It just had no effect. I
feel that Jake would definitely know the answer to this, but I'm just going to throw this out there. I think if you smoke it, you don't need the MAOI, but if you're going to ingest it, you do. Is that correct?
That's orally. That is correct. That's correct. So that's case in point here is that in the Amazon, how did they pick a vine and a leaf when, based on what Nick is saying, let's just say they tested the leaf. Well, if they just tested the leaf and they ate it, then it's not going to do anything in their gut because they don't have the MAOI.
I've always wondered how
when
they
the
figured that
shaman
out.
was asked, how did they figure this out? The shaman said the plant spirits told them. Okay? So this is where we get into this idea of like the living ecosystem, this idea of there being multiple dimensions layered on top of our own, and how shamanism is essentially the exploration of those dimensions or the spirit world.
Okay.
So
Did he
if you want
say-
to talk life magic, let's go back to this idea of living waters, okay?
Okay, yeah.
So-
let's do that.
Living waters is a reference to life energy or chi, or in the Hindu tradition, they call it prana, okay? And it's your life force. It's in the government, they call it your bioplasmic field, okay? Or morphogenetic field if you look into the work of Rupert Sheldrake. And this prana, this chi, this energy, this living waters is what's used to heal people.
I feel like is that Indian? Would Charana
Chi is Chinese,
or
prana is
Asian, yeah.
Indian.
is Indian? I just find it ironic that the Indian thing has anything to do with water. Because have you seen the Ganges lately, folks? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I don't like
They
what
really
they're
need
doing
to
there.
do better to take care of that holy river. It's really just atrocious.
Yeah, I saw a video where the river was literally just plastic bottles. I go, how is it flowing? How do they get that many plastic bottles?
Yeah.
They're gonna need to go back, rethink things. I think they're gonna need to get back to the
What we
roots.
have, Vill, is a crisis of consciousness on this planet. What we have is a lot of really, really dumb people getting together thinking that they're smart.
Schmatz. Hey, we got a question for you. Somebody, Heartlands Aurelius,
go ahead.
he sent in a $1 and he says, their legends, mythology teach them that the tall, fair-skinned, bearded gods taught them how to talk to the ancestors when they brought them civilization after the Great Flood. Does that sound familiar to
Well, that
anybody?
sounds like a run-on sentence, but I will say this. The story is the same across continents that supposedly, according to modern science, had no communication. So whether it be the talk about the 7 sages here in the Americas, the story of the Mayans, or there's talk about the 7 priests or the 7 wise men or whatever, I forgot what the exact terminology is, in fucking Sumer. Okay. They also talk about the same thing over in Asia and I think Australia as well. So there's a lot of legends about these 7 prophets, 7 sages, 7 wise men, 7 gods, 7 priests that go
Noticing a
from
pattern
continent
here.
to continent. Yes, that's correct. And they are reestablishing civilization after the global flood. See, there was a civilization that was far more advanced than our own prior to the flood.
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were following up with that. So that's what the next comment was from
Lord
the
knows
same
I can
person.
keep going. I'm doing this for you.
Oh, for sure. So there was a follow-up comment, same guy that donated with that question. He says, the idea of water memory is wild and has scientific backing. So these must be the same living waters that you're referring to, right?
Well, no, I just made that very clear that Christ
Damn
was
it.
talking about prana or chi. Okay, what I'm talking about with the flood is actual fucking water from the polar ice sheet at the northern pole. So look, what else do you want to talk about? Because in all honesty, I got to be honest with you, bro. I don't get the vibe that you're taking me seriously. I get the vibe that you're kind of egging me on and like making fun of me a little bit.
Not at all. I literally was just reading somebody
No,
else's
okay.
question to where he said, to go back to what he said, after the Great Flood. In the last question, that's how that question ended.
You asked, does that have anything to do with living waters? And I said, no, that's prana or chi. That is totally different.
It's very heavy.
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
I'm trying. I got to produce at the same time, too, because my producer's out giving a seminar right now.
Well, then my apologies for being so
Left
stringent.
holding the bag, you know. Well, how about this? Let's shake it up a little bit, right? We got some more questions. One of them is, what's the biggest thing said about you that has been said about you that's simply incorrect?
Good question.
That I'm a terrorist, white supremacist, Nazi?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There's the
That's
answer
a
to
common
that.
one.
Ochs gets that same one.
Yeah,
Quite
I
a
bet he
bit.
does.
Yeah, that major publications, they like to repeat that one.
Yeah. But then he goes, yep. Okay, here's another one. Since getting out of prison, has this is phrased oddly, has being so recognizable been more positive? Or I kind of already asked that earlier. I'll move on from that. Here's a good one. I like this one a lot. Did you make the buffalo outfit yourself, or is that kind of like an Etsy thing? I feel like you made it yourself.
Yep. Nope, I got it on the internet. I forgot where, but it was the only one. I can't find it anywhere else now or any time in the past.
Oh. Hey, I
Have
noticed
you had
it's
any
right there
offers
over
to
your left
purchase it
shoulder.
from you?
I have. Yes, I have, as a matter of
imagine
fact,
you have.
but it's mine.
Nice.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Next, we got. Oh, did the government ever take your outfit? Did they ever seize that
Yes.
and have to give it?
They held it for 2 years longer than they should have too.
Yeah, my shit too.
Yeah,
I got
we
it
finally
back though. I got it back recently. Did you get your shit back? Because
I did.
they confiscated my T-shirt of a bear that does cocaine, and I took it pretty hard. I've been trying to retrieve it for years, and I got it back in several months ago. And they weren't too happy to see me. Like, they were curious. You could tell at the FBI office, but they did return the T-shirt.
Yeah, Nick had to go pick up some of our camera equipment and stuff, and he said that the agent he talked to, I don't know if I could say this or not. I think it's fine now, but he's like the agent he talked to that was dealing with the January 6th stuff was like, yeah, that whole thing was just bullshit, man, and you know, I'm really sorry that I ever dealt with any of that, but it's cool. I got out of that, and I've moved on to like child sex crimes and stuff. So like he was
He's saying that to
expressing.
try to make friends. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
they
but
know what
you
we
still
wanna
work
hear.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Exactly.
like, you still work there though, bud.
Well,
Jake,
you know, one
what's
of
your
the things
feeling
you gotta
about the
keep in-
I'm sorry. What's your feeling
Go ahead.
about the just the FBI? Not any other 3-letter organization, but just the FBI in general. How do you view them now? Is there any saving them?
What you have to understand is that there's a lot of good people in a really bad system. A lot of people have certain, shall we say, non-disclosure agreements and security clearances or families or whatever that they would rather not jeopardize. And thank God I don't have any of those things. So I'm more than willing to do the job that they can't. I'm more than willing to say the things that they can't. And that has been very, very difficult for me because the government hasn't allowed me to live it down. They have harassed
That's a
me
very
for
kind way to
over
put
a
it.
decade. Well, they've harassed me for
That's
over a
unfortunate
decade.
that I
Nick.
can-
Dude,
I mean,
have
I say
been.
fuck them. I say fuck them. I don't care for police. I don't especially care for the FBI. I think if you still work there, that's a personal poor reflection on the one who does. I don't see it as salvageable or something to respect.
Well, I understand why you say that, considering J. Edgar Hoover and the way that the FBI has harassed Martin Luther King Jr. But this is one of the things that I refuse to do because I've been in the system in more than one way. I worked in group homes, so I got to work with cops. I got to work alongside cops. I got to see the group home situation. I got to see the child abuse situation. I also was in the prison system. I got to talk to the COs. I got to see the situation from the inside there. I got to see the kind of people that were in these fucking jails. I got to see, and the government spared no expense. Trust me when I say putting me in, certain places with certain people, giving me a chance to get a look at some of these people. I mean, my God, so it's like, look, man, I'm wise enough to recognize that we need law enforcement agencies. Do we need a bloated agency like the FBI? No. Do we need a bloated agency like the fucking ATF? No, we do not. What we need to do is get back to the original founding fucking documents blueprints, dude. And the federal government was small, and the rest of the shit was left to the fucking states. And that's what we need to get back to. Otherwise, we're not going to make it.
Yeah, I agree. It sounds like the old Confederacy that I miss so much. Heartland's Aurelius sends $1. He says, he's still going back to the waters thing, but he sent money, so I got to ask. He says, but it does have to do with living waters because water has memory. All right.
Okay, I understand, but look at it like this. When we're talking about what Christ is talking about living waters, all right, what we're talking about is energy, life energy that is coming from the quote unquote heavenly Father, or coming from like the 12th dimension, the infinite energy that makes up all things, and traveling through all of the lower dimensions and to and through his body, and either into the earth and therefore throughout the ecosystem, or into somebody's body in the case of healing somebody.
Heartlands, I hope that answers your question once and for all. Now, Jake, you mentioned prison and COs and whatnot, and that leads me to my next question. It's a two-parter. It's firstly, how long were you incarcerated? And following that up with, were you treated differently than other inmates while inside?
Yes, I was. And I was incarcerated for a total of 27 months behind bars, 29 in federal custody, because my last 2 months were either in halfway house or home confinement.
So we did a similar amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah, Ochs, what was your answer to that same questions?
I got 4 years. I did 2 before I beat the case, and yes, I was treated differently and worse, very much so. I was well liked by the inmates. I get along with the fellow prisoners, but the staff was a problem.
Yeah, Jake, how are you treated by the inmates? Just like
I was treated well by both inmates and staff, and that's because I treated inmates and staff with respect, and I treated them well.
Right on. Next question. It's kind of a follow-up to that as well. What was the worst part of prison? This is for both of you guys. What was the worst part of prison, and what was the best part of prison? And I will let Ochs go first on that.
I mean, the worst part of prison was prison, but right. the best part was... Because I was at a place, too, that was particularly bad for chumbos and shit. Like, there were just a lot of them. So you didn't have a lot of white friends. You know, prison is very racial, whether you wanted to be or not. But I did make some very good friends there. That was the best part of it. There's some guys I'll keep in touch with the rest of my life who are, you know, legit guys, keep the so-called convict code. No pedos, no snitches. I very much don't like pedophiles and snitches. But there's people that understand these things, who are serious people, who've lived a life, and they're good folks, you know? They're not all bad folks in prison, I'll tell you that.
There you go. So it's the friends he made along the way. Best part. Jake,
yes.
What about you?
Worst part was, like Nick said, being in prison, not having your freedom. The only people that know what freedom is, or even have the slightest inkling of an idea of what freedom is, are those who have had it taken from them. Okay? And then, as far as the best part, it was an opportunity to work on myself and come back 10 times stronger than the government sent me in.
Yeah, I noticed you're looking jacked. I mean, you were looking pretty jacked during the J6 events too, though. So I'm guessing you're a regular. You work out regularly, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, but I'm talking about I'm also talking about like mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, every single way. Instead of everything that they did that tried to destroy me only made me better. It only made me stronger, and it only strengthened my resolve.
Yeah, I'd imagine it gives you a lot more time to think and meditate. Kind of fortunately and unfortunately. I guess that time alone with yourself can either improve you or kind of destroy you. And it looks to me like everybody I know so far, personally, and like in this interview, has come out stronger and better people and more self-aware and more driven. And so I think that might have backfired against the old government. What's that, Ochs?
For real, you do get to use the time constructively if you want. I mean, for me, it just became about learning more about Catholicism and really and digging into that. And it was a gift in a way to give you the time to really study what matters. And when you're out here in the world and you get caught up in life, you don't have time to read massive books. These are things you can do. You know, what in all religious studies, you get to read those giant novels that you've been looking at and pondered, but you never actually get to. There's if you, our audience should listen because some of you will. If you go to prison, there absolutely is a way to do that. You come out on top, and you can do it. It's a choice.
There you go. Hopefully you guys stay out of trouble. That's lesson number one. Jake, here's a good question. This is I think perhaps my favorite one of the night, and that is, are you actually proficient in hunting or self-defense with a spear?
No.
Oh. That's
But I'll tell
surprising.
you this much. All I need is 2 fucking fingers to paralyze you or kill you.
Are you allowed to divulge how you're able to do that?
Yeah, you ever heard of Mantis? Mantis
I have
technique?
not.
The martial art?
No.
Pressure points?
I've heard of pressure
Well,
points.
let's
I've never
just
heard of
say-
Mantis.
Did you ever play, I think it was it Street Fighter? Or no, it was Tekken. It was Tekken with the old man that was like this.
I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
I
about, but no,
remember
I was a Street Fighter guy
That's
myself.
Mantis.
Okay.
Well, I think it was Tekken, but it doesn't matter. That's Mantis. It's a very old technique. And what it is what you have to understand is that the reason why they call it self-defense is because it only works if you're being attacked. You don't really use it to hurt people. You use it if somebody's trying to attack you, because anytime somebody's trying to attack you, they leave certain vulnerabilities on their body that you can exploit, that you can use. And that's essentially what all martial arts is about, is exploiting those vulnerabilities. Mantis is about exploiting those vulnerabilities by using the pressure points, and only a couple of fingers to hit those pressure points and hit them very hard. And when you hit those portions of the nervous system, it causes the entirety or certain portions of the nervous system to seize up and either like completely collapse and the person falls on the ground, or they'll pass out, or in some cases they can actually die.
Oh, that sounds severe. 2 fingers, folks. Learn it, use it wisely. Don Jolly sends $1. He says, ask him what his rune tattoos mean. I have not seen, I don't know what a rune is.
No,
those are runes?
The symbols for the
It's like a Ouija
planets
board.
and the runes, they all mean something different. Like, one is family, one is community, one is, one of them is, I know this one is Thor, or the hammer here, and this one is Odin right here, I believe. There's a bunch of them. They've all got different meanings, and the order of them is specific.
Did you get any of those in prison? Like, are any of those official prison tattoos?
No, I was smart enough not to get a prison tattoo.
You
But
hear that,
I
Nikki?
did earn
You dummy. Sorry, go ahead.
I did earn my wings when I got back. If you'd like to see my tattoo that I earned when I got out.
Hell yeah, brother. Let's see it.
All right, one sec.
Here, I'll cut away. You tell me when you're ready. All right, bam, here we go. Oh, he means literal wings, folks. Literal wings.
Fucking A.
Nice.
Literal fucking wings.
Chat's
Yeah.
loving it. They are loving it. All right, let's see. What is something... This is for both of you two, and I'll start with Jake on this one. What is something you want people to know about you that they don't already?
Me first?
Jake, you first.
In all honesty, I really don't know, dude. I pretty much said everything there is to say on fucking Spaces, bro. I told everybody my life fucking story. So, something people don't know about me. I got got this tattoo here on mushrooms.
There you go. You learn something new every day, folks. That was a good one. Ochs, what about you? You're still an enigma to me, sir.
I think that's actually where I'll go with it. I'm a bit of an enigma because people don't ask. I want people to know they're welcome to ask, because I'm not very good at expressing my whole life at once, but I have lived a very strange life, and I haven't talked about most of it. And I think people pick up on the breadcrumbs of that sometimes. But feel free to ask questions. Head to my page, my chat. Hit me up if you got my number. Just ask me, and I will be very open, and I will surprise you.
Okay, I'm going to start coming up with questions for you next. Then, which reminds me, Jake, did you send that? Did you send that X link to your profile that you want us to plug in the chat? Or I guess I should ask you.
I sent it to Nick.
Yeah, Nick, throw that in the chat. Come on,
check.
man. You got to pull your weight here.
I'll look at my phone, man.
All right, that's fine. Here's what I gotta know: do you still have the spear, Jake, or did they not give that back, or did they even ever take it?
Well, it's a staff, and it does have a spear, quote unquote, tip, but it's not like secured to the pole. It's not secured to the staff. So.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I really couldn't use it as a weapon if I wanted to, unless I were to secure it. But it doesn't matter. Yes, I have it, and it's fucking awesome.
It does look dope, and I feel like the flag is an extra. It's like an extra little piece to it. Here you can see on the promo. Look at that. That's pretty sick. You know, blood of tyrants and blood of patriots. I could see all over that flag at some point in the future. Not necessarily yours. I'm not advocating that, obviously, but I'm saying if there were something to use for something similar, it'd be that. Am I right?
At this point, Vill, I've gotten so many death threats, I stopped counting.
Yeah, where do those come from? Do those come more from the left, the right, the government, or are they just random people that are...
I think it's boomers.
Ochs says boomers?
I don't think it's like Antifa
Maybe
kids.
boomers in the deep state.
Nah, I think just like bored fucking middle-aged people that watch way too much CNN and like Rachel Maddow fans. I don't think it's serious people. I think it's literally Rachel Maddow's fan base that like sends actual hate mail to my address. They're the ones. This is my feeling. It's a gut feeling.
You still get that? You still get that to
I
this
happen to
day?
disagree.
Ochs?
Yeah.
Okay. Jake disagrees. What do you disagree
Yeah,
on?
I'm pretty sure it's the intel agencies, at least for me in particular. Because some of it's too consistent. The patterns are too consistent. I'm going to sue the government soon, so they're going to find out. You're all going to get a chance to see.
We'll definitely be following that. I hear that there's several people working on lawsuits. You got the Proud Boys guys, Enrique Tarrio. I think it's like what do you call it, like a joint lawsuit. They're going for $100 million.
Yeah, that's probably.
Do either one of y'all think they'll get
that?
Ochs, do you think they'll get the $100 million?
No, they're not going to get $100 million. If they'd asked for a reasonable number, they might not be getting such flack. So the DOJ under Trump has signaled that they're not going to fight everything, but they haven't expressed what exactly they're not going to fight. When you show up and ask for $100 million, or in other cases like $50 billion, I think is the other lawsuit, they're not going to do that. So yeah, you're gonna get some pushback on that. Maybe it's fucking legal advice. If you want to bring a suit against the government, don't ask for $100 million. You might get better results.
Well, for all you know, though, he could have read The Art of the Deal while in prison. He could have read it several times, and maybe his strategy is start high, walk him down to a more reasonable number.
That's fine. Start with 5 if you had a rough time.
Talking to me? You talking
No,
to me?
No,
Or
just
talking to them?
general people.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I'm taking it all. I promise you. You guys, what did Elon Musk say? I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk, but what did he say? He said the most entertaining outcome is the most likely, or something like that, right?
I sure hope so.
You watch, dude. You fucking watch, you guys. You guys have no idea the shit that I've been through. And when you see what I've been through, when everybody fucking sees what I've been through, and everybody knows who the fuck I am and how long I've been trying to save this fucking country, everything's going to change. This is going to touch the fucking Vatican. This is going to touch D.C. It's going to touch the London Palace, because I've been in all of their fucking ears for months.
How does one get the contact information for such high-power people and agencies?
Because I'm a fucking Vill, and I don't give a fuck. All I got to do is get the information that's on my motherfucking phone, and then all you got to do is cross-reference it with Trump's fucking tweets and the shit that the fucking Pope was saying. All right? If you understand how the intelligence community works, if you understand how all this shit behind the scenes work, if you understand how Masons run the fucking world, then you will understand how and why it is that this is significant.
I apparently do not. That sounds way beyond my pay grade. But let me ask you this. If you were to win, when you win this massive lawsuit, I'm picturing a really big party, probably in the Phoenix area. Hopefully not when it's really hot outside, maybe January, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Are we all on the same page here? A big blowout?
I would show up.
I don't know, dude. My thing is I'm not there to party. I'm there to get to fucking business and clean out fucking DC and get rid of the corruption. I'm not here to play. I'm not here to play fucking games. Listen, I want you guys to think about something, okay? In case you haven't like done your research. Our government literally abducted and trafficked our fucking kids, dude. And for decades to the most evil fucking people sitting in that fucking Oval Office. All right? And they allowed Jeffrey fucking Epstein to dictate American policy for decades. Okay? And then they tried to cover it up. All right? And then they went after every single American that decided to stand up and fucking say something. All right? Now, I don't give a flying fuck if you're white or you're black, if you got brown eyes, you got blue eyes. I don't fucking care. If you are an American, you're an American. And what they're doing is evil. And it's because they're not loyal to the American people, Jack. They're loyal to the Fed. And the Fed is fucking Israel because it's all the fucking Rothschilds.
New plan, Party DC that rolls into the March. Some might call it J6 2.0, where this time it works. I'm getting some more comments. He said, ask him about jacuzzis. You a fan of hot tubs, Jake? I know Ochs is. I don't have to ask him that. I know that we're all business right now, but every now and then it's got to get stressful, and you got to relax in a nice hot tub. You're a hot tub fan, I can tell.
You know, that's an interesting place to start. The last time I think I was in a hot tub was in I believe it was 2018, and
That's a long
I believe it was a. What's that?
That's a long stretch of no hot tubbing.
Yeah.
I've more recently been hot tubbing than 2018. I'm sure.
Same.
Well, congratulations. Some of us have better things to do than get in hot tubs, my dear.
So I'm also seeing some. I can't phrase it that way, folks. Okay. I can't say glass it from the river to the sea, but you've mentioned Israel a few times. Is the United States government totally controlled by Israel, or do they just have a lot of influence?
Okay, what you have to understand is that the Fed is owned and controlled by the same people that own and control the land that we call Israel. Okay, we're talking about the Rothschilds. Okay, we're also the same people that own and control the London Palace and the royal family, and they also have tremendous influence in the Vatican. All right, they control the global crime networks, they control the global crime syndicates and the underground world, as it were, the illegal world, and they also, through all their central banking systems, they control all of the major banking and corporate institutions as well, and therefore they also control the governments because they loan governments money at interest. So what you got to keep in mind here, dude, is that what we're talking about is a global financial apparatus that is used to basically infiltrate countries and siphon their energy and tax the citizens into oblivion. All the while, they're also like controlling law enforcement. So they have the ability to traffic the children and the men and the women. They can get rid of their political competition. And they can do so through things like heart attack guns or now satellites from space hitting your heart with the frequency. Shit, your fucking cell phone can be used to kill you, believe it or not. They can blow those things up. Yeah, your pager. Exactly. See, you get it. So what kind of a world are we living in, Jack?
You know, a struggle I've had personally is trying to figure out a way to use a nation's human capital, I said capital for its kind of like its GDP, you know, like in order to not have this debt-based economy, society that's subject to the rules and oversee the usury of the Fed. I haven't worked it out fully yet, but me and a couple other people are working on a new political party. Remember, Butthole sends, I got to send the big one for that, sends $5, and he says, what's your opinion on the Jews, especially the heavy influence of Israel?
Okay. So once again, we're talking about what I like to call Ashkenazi Jews. They're not really technically Hebrews from the biblical traditions or the biblical like tribes of Israel. Okay, we're talking about Eastern Europeans, and in many cases also around like the Caucasus Mountains, Khazaria, Ukraine area. Now, what you got to keep in mind is that these people, if you look into like the history regarding Russia and how that is like related to things like the Silk Road and European trade and the Khazarians and how they were like killing people and assuming their identities and infiltrating other countries and doing all sorts of crazy shit and doing all this satanic ritual stuff, okay, like black magic shit, all right? The Russians were Christian. They said, look, you guys got a chance to either convert to one of the three monotheistic religions or we're going to fucking kill all of you because everything you guys are doing, we can't keep having this. So they converted to quote unquote Judaism, and they actually converted to like a form of Talmudic.
Or the Muslims and the Christians. They were caught in the middle and they chose the wild card more or less, yes?
Well, they chose Judaism because the Judaism has the Talmud, which is actually rooted in ancient Babylonian black magic, which is actually Saturn worship. Okay, what we're talking about here, and this comes back to what we were talking about before the flood, is this idea of like global satanic rituals being done like at sacred sites. We're talking about like the same evil of like ritual sacrifice that was going on in like Sumer with like the Canaanites and shit like that, or even in ancient Egypt, was going on before the flood in mass. Okay, so when we talk about like the biblical traditions and all that shit, and we talk about like the Hebrews giving their children over to Baal or Moloch, we're talking about stuff that's actually rooted in stuff that's way more ancient than just after the flood. All right. Now, the Hebrews, when they were captive in Babylon, they learned all this Babylonian black magic bullshit. Okay, where it's ritual sacrifice, blood drinking, like sex magic and stuff like that. In particular, homosexual magic. Okay,
of course.
And then they brought this stuff into the Hebrew system, and then they had these castes, the Hebrew castes, and they had these people within the hierarchy that were doing this stuff, and then they needed a book to point at to say it says that we're allowed to do it right here. Basically, they created a Hebrew bureaucracy because the Torah was acting like the Constitution. It was getting in the fucking way of tyranny. It was getting in the way of these people doing whatever they wanted. All right. So very similarly, that's what we're dealing with now. Is the Khazarians assumed this Hebrew tradition of Talmudic Judaism, which is actually Babylonian black magic, and now they're using that Jewish mask to cover their face as they do all this satanic or Saturnian Saturn worship bullshit.
Bam. Full circle, folks. I see what you did there. Bravo. Circled it all around. I love it. I like it. We're trying to... Somebody is supposed to be finding... Are you sure you're on Twitter?
Yes,
it's because somebody stole his name, and it does. You'll find an account with 600 people. That's not Jacob. I'm looking for it now. Can you send me the link again?
Link, bro.
It's not on my phone.
Sure.
You text it to me. I'm not seeing it.
He's not seeing it.
Sure.
Yeah, we got to get that out. So,
no problem.
chat, y'all are doing great tonight. I just had my mind blown with that full circle thing, and it makes total sense. Yeah. I've never been able to put it into words so succinctly in my own mind. So, yeah. Yeah, I like it.
Well, what's
I agree
interesting
with it.
about it is that what's interesting about it, though, Vill, is that if you look into what these people were actually doing in these Babylonian black magic rituals, what they were doing was using stargates or vortexes in the ecosystem or in the like the mountains or whatever, right? They were using these natural stargates or natural vortexes in conjunction with things like either adrenochrome or adrenalized blood and ritual sacrifice to create basically a very specific frequency or signature in that portal that allowed them access to a very specific timeline in a very specific dimension.
Whoa.
Okay. And does all that make sense before I move on?
No. But yes, if that makes sense.
Okay, look at it like this. Look at it like this. No, allow me to explain it a little more simply. You
Right.
know the owl god Moloch, right? This in
Yes.
Bohemian Grove?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. That's who they're sacrificing these children to, right?
Yes.
Yes.
The owl
Okay.
one.
So, right, the owl god Moloch. It's also a bull in the case of Baal, right? But it's essentially the same demonic god. Okay. Now, what's interesting about that is that if you look at the vortex or the Stargate, as imagine it like it's a ball of light that's in the ecosystem.
Different
Okay, it's
ball,
just a ball
folks.
of light, a neutral ball of light that's shining in the ecosystem, and it sends energy or living waters to and through the Earth's dimension. Okay?
Okay.
Now, imagine if a person ended up going to that little ball of light, spewing those living waters, and through a black magic ritual, like a ritual sacrifice, they ended up contaminating that. And then in contaminating it, they placed like an effigy, like a metaphysical effigy of this owl god in the vortex. Now that owl god, then that frequency, that low frequency of death and murder is now contaminating the wellspring of the ecosystem. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot more sense. Now I'm getting it. And now I feel like potentially they're trying to reopen that same Stargate or portal with the red heifer. Have you heard about this thing, the red heifer?
Yes.
Do you think that's tied together at all?
Yes, it is.
Knew it.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. What you got to keep in mind is that the Holy Land, quote unquote, was quote unquote given to the Israelites, which are not the current day, Ashkenazis in Israel, okay? The quote unquote Holy Land, or the Promised Land, rather, the Promised Land, was actually Canaanite land. And the Canaanites were doing these ritual sacrifices to Moloch or Baal at these sacred sites, like what was happening before the flood. And so God was like, go and get rid of those motherfuckers and do a real ritual so we can cleanse the ecosystem and get real living waters coming through the vortex or the Stargate.
But they didn't get rid of all of them. That same belief spread through other Canaanite people, like the Phoenicians went as far as Carthage in North Africa, and the Romans rolled in and saw what they did. They were so upset they had to salt the earth so nothing could ever grow there again. That was due specifically to the child sacrifice.
Now we're getting into, okay, why the child sacrifice? Like, what's up with the child sacrifice? What's up with the human sacrifice? What is
That's
this?
the question.
Well, you also have, what's that?
I said that is the question. I agree.
Okay, so let's talk about that, because this gets into shamanism and this idea of like the parasite, and this idea of the parasite being known about in all shamanic cultures. Sometimes it's called the predator, other times it's called the parasite. But case in point, there is this evil interdimensional force. The Christians, the Gnostic Christians, called them archons. These evil demonic interdimensional beings that are here on this planet. They're low frequency beings. Okay, and they attempt to
Can I stop you there?
human behavior. Sure.
What is a low frequency being? I haven't heard that before.
Okay, look at it like this. High frequencies of emotion and thought are happy, positive, joy, love, peace, harmony. Those are high frequency beings, okay? Low frequencies are anger, hate, fear, jealousy, rage, wrath, lust, all the deadly sins, okay? So we're talking about beings that have embodied all of the deadly sins to the nth degree. All right, that is essentially like a demonic soul, and there's levels to how deep those demonic depravity can go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that does make sense, and we see evidence of that within certain societies that are more affected. For like the Phoenicians, for instance, seem to be given over to that and shocked even the other pagans. Like there's historical precedent for what you're saying.
Now we have to ask ourselves why. What is going on here? Okay. What we're talking about is a very intense need to feel secure or to feel safe. And throughout human history, if you look at, like, for example, have you ever seen that movie Alpha, or like 10,000 BC or something like that?
Yeah.
About like caveman times, and they got fucking saber-toothed tigers and shit hunting people
That's a great movie.
in the
Alpha.
savannah.
I watched that like 4
I
times in
have
prison.
not.
Yeah.
But continue.
It's good.
Okay, perfect. So remember when that fucking saber-toothed tiger senses that dude's fear and snatches him out of the fucking dark in the beginning?
Yep.
Low
Remember
frequency
that at all?
energy.
Okay.
He felt his low
right,
frequency.
exactly. Okay. Right,
Nailed it.
exactly. So that low frequency emits to the tiger or the saber tooth, and it's like, oh shit, that's the one, right? So now that gene is taken out of the ecosystem. It's a low frequency being, right? Now, if you have a bunch of entities gathering together in fear, right, having that fear, and then they believe that if they just kill that person right there ritually at that site right there, then everything will be fine, then the placebo effect will take hold. Right, because then all they're in this fever, this adrenaline rush of killing somebody and watching this sacrifice that is a part of this ancient, like primal part of our being, where we feel safe now that that other person died, right, and we're not going to be hunted, right. That is what settles hold of these mob mentalities out in the middle of the fucking desert. Do you see what I'm saying, dude?
Yeah, I do, man. I do.
Ochs, what's your takeaway thus far?
Well, no,
You know way more about it than I do,
I
apparently.
think. I guess my question is, you see evidence from the earliest we've got, like the Sumerians you mentioned are very early, and you got like Jericho and the first cities we've ever found seem to have evidence of skull worship and just dark things, and the child sacrifice seems to be a common thread throughout history. But like the evil was there from the beginning. And I guess that the low frequency is a good explanation as anything for that. If you're picking up on
now let's talk about the physics. Let's talk about the physics behind that really quick, okay? Because I think it's kind of important. The low frequencies that are being dumped into the grid system aren't just affecting the local ecosystem. They're affecting the collective consciousness of the tribe, yes, but also all of humanity. And that is part of the reason why these dark occultic groups that have these abortion clinics everywhere, right? How much you want to bet they're built on what are called ley lines, which are the same thing that the pyramids are built on, okay? But my point is that these ritual sacrifices are about more than just, feeling secure or feeling like, oh, okay, we're going to have a good crop or a good harvest or whatever. There's layers to it. And in particular, when you talk about things like the Phoenicians, or you talk about even the Romans and the Greeks used to do things like child and human sacrifice as well. They were all occultic societies. What you find is that anybody that starts fucking with the occult goes crazy. Okay? Yeah. Especially the dark side of the occult. Okay? And that's where we get into demonic black magic. Okay?
Oh.
And once these things take a hold of a person, once they quote unquote possess them, then that's where all this stuff like pedophilia and murder and ritual sacrifice, the demon takes hold of the body. That low frequency energy that's in the ecosystem, that's a part of that vortex now, is now taking a hold of that person's body, and it's distorting their behavior in space time.
But it
you,
distorts
sir,
it in the same way
are
every
making
time.
a lot of sense. A lot of sense. Everybody, I can't say everybody, people I deal with now, people I'm in contact with regularly, it's always said like kind of in an offhand way, but it's like, yeah, it's a fucking demon. That person is acting like a demon possessed by demons. And the longer time goes on, the more I'm like, yeah, no, I think that's literal. I think that's because you see what some of these people are capable of, and you go, that a person isn't capable of that without demonic possession of some sort.
Yep.
Well, and that's where we get into this notion of like secondary evil, which is like the evil that men do, murder, theft, rape, shit like that. And then there's primary evil, okay? And primary evil is like exorcist shit, okay? Primary evil is stuff where like, no, dude, like that is something that is not human. It's like otherworldly levels of evil, okay? Now, when we talk about that, this is where we get into this idea of like an unclean spirit, right? This is where we get into this idea of the levels or the layers to the contamination of the spirit or the vortexes of the body, okay, or the chakra system, and how these chakras can end up either being aligned, or you can end up having your chakras totally misaligned and out of tune and out of harmony and getting worse and worse and worse. And in the process, the morphogenetic field or the bioplasmic field, the chi or the living waters of the body become contaminated with low frequency vibrations. So then we get into what Guy was saying earlier about water having memory. If our body's 70% water and we have all these low frequencies hitting us and we're thinking all these bad thoughts and we have all these low frequencies moving our body, it's demonic possession, bruh. There's varying levels and grades, dude.
There it is. I am learning so much tonight. I was not expecting, but I'm a fool. The guy's a shaman. I should have expected this. We got $1 sent by Bob Dobbs. He says, why does he have Thor and Odin on his hand and still follow Abrahamic nonsense?
Oh, pagan in the chat.
We got a pagan on our hands.
Oh, no, that's a really good question. Let's talk about that. Okay.
Let's talk about it.
So, what you have to understand is, first of all, Jesus is Jesus. Okay? And so, Jesus is Zeus. All right? And Moses was also like the embodiment of Zeus. Okay? Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, one who is many. Okay, this is the idea that God's soul, every beginning and end of every age, incarnates on the planet. Okay, so there's, for about 2,160 years, these Saturnians or Satan worshipers are allowed to run amok. They're allowed to have and do whatever they want because they have free will. Right? They're the quote unquote fallen angels. And they do these child sacrifices, these human sacrifices. They eat flesh, they drink blood, they do rape, they do murder. It's what they've done every single fucking age. Okay? Now, do you want me to stop?
No. That was my reaction for, like, you say stuff like that, and then the reaction's like, Jesus Christ. It's disgusting stuff.
Okay. So, case in point, oh fuck, I totally lost myself. Son of a bitch, that threw me off.
Sorry,
what was
I won't
saying?
use any more of the gift board.
Gratuitous
It's okay,
bumpers,
what was
Bill.
I saying?
Go
Help
ahead.
me,
I'll
pick me,
remind
give
him.
me my thread.
Oh, come on.
Oh, I remember. I know what I was going to say. Okay, so every 2,160 years, we have a new age, right? And so for 2,000 or so years, God's soul is asleep. And these fucking Saturnians are doing all these human and child sacrifice and shit. And this is where we get into this idea of like the chalice of God's wrath and like the blood of the innocent filling the chalice of God's wrath. Okay, so God is sleeping for 2,000 or so years, and these motherfuckers are doing all these child and human sacrifice shit, and they're pouring blood into the chalice of God's wrath, the blood of the innocent, because they're fucking crazy, and they got into the occult. Okay, and the occult says fucking sacrifice humans. Okay, so that's what they do, especially the dark side, the Saturnian, Saturn worship. This is what they've always done throughout the ages, is what they were doing before the flood. So anyway, this is what happens. They fill the blood. They fill the chalice of God's wrath with the blood of the innocent, and then eventually it gets so filled that it spills. It runneth over and it spills with God's wrath. And that's with the incarnation of God, or the incarnation of quote unquote Zeus, or the king of the gods, onto the planet every single age. Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, one who is many. And this entity, this being, incarnates on the planet every single age, and over again becomes more conscious and has more and more of an influence on the planet. In particular, this entity's movement throughout history has been charted by every single fucking civilization, and all civilizations have a prophecy of this being's return. And they actually say that the being is supposed to return now.
Okay, so give us some examples of, like, I'm assuming in the Christian religion it would be the Antichrist, right? Is that kind of what you're saying? Like, there's one example.
No, it's Jesus. No, Jesus is.
Oh, it's a positive return.
Yeah.
Because once the cup runneth over with blood, he comes back and he's like flaming sword and all that.
He's pissed. he's pissed at the
I
people
got
trafficking and killing the kids. So look at it like this. When it's a physics thing, okay? And also look at it like it's a matter of you know what those perpetual motion devices? You ever seen those perpetual motion machines?
I've heard tell of them, but I've also heard that they don't exist. I've heard like nobody's really invented it yet. Are
You
you
can
saying
look them
that
up
they
on
do
YouTube.
exist?
They fucking exist. The question is are they able to produce energy? That is the argument of whether or not they can or not. But they can. But it doesn't matter. The point I'm getting at is that essentially the universe or the wheel of samsara is like a perpetual motion device. It's a perpetual motion, like a kaleidoscope or perpetual motion kaleidoscope hologram. And you can actually get outside of it. You get outside of the wheel of samsara or you get into nirvana or heaven. You can get beyond, these cycles of karma and rebirth. But what that takes is transcending your karma, which basically means that you gotta, and this is where we get into the like teachings of Christ and shit. And which actually the teachings of Christ are more like the teachings of Vishnu, but we're not going to get in that. But the idea of turning the other cheek, okay, it's not so much about allowing yourself to get hit in the face. Okay, what it's about is being such a fucking badass that the hit in the face don't do shit. And you look at the motherfucker and you go, "Are you done?"
Yeah, you're capable of absorbing that energy because you're so powerful. And you're like, that's it? Really? Did you tire yourself out, you fucking demon? Yeah, because I got the power of righteousness. I got high frequency power. You're hitting me with some low frequency energy, pussy. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Fucking
here.
hey, you get it. You get
Don,
it, bro.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Don says samsara. Dang, I've seen that shit. Very, very high on mushrooms. I believe him.
Yes. So let's talk about that for a second, because that's important. If we talk about the high level of neuroconnectivity that takes place in the brain when under the influence of mushrooms, it is through the roof, far more than any sort of placebo ever could. Okay. Now, when you get into that level of neuroconnectivity, if you have issues like depression or anxiety, then those things will get stirred up and you'll be forced to confront them. But you might actually be able to come down from the mushrooms and no longer have depression or anxiety. Now, if you're able to work through, or if you don't have depression or anxiety and you're able to get into these like higher states of consciousness of being happy and, having fun on mushrooms, then, you can get into, shall we say, higher states of being high. But then there are these shamanic states where you're not even focused on this idea of quote unquote getting high anymore. Now you're focused on your consciousness transcending dimensions beyond the physical and transcending the dimension that you transcended last time you took a trip. So remember how I was saying that when you access these higher dimensions within your electromagnetic field, you end up creating more neuroconnectivity in your brain? Yes. Well, it's essentially that process happening over and over and over again and exponentially allowing your neuroconnectivity to become so interconnected that it's like hyperdimensional.
Yeah, I'm so riddled with anxiety from my past that the last time I did mushrooms, I went through the fun phase and it was so cool. I was definitely in another dimension in the dark. I was actually floating down a river because I was laying on an air mattress and I can hear the water flowing and like all the sounds, and that's an aside. Then the sun came up, everybody else goes to sleep, and then it starts turning on me, and before I know it, it's basically demons are like, hey, all you got to do is reject Christ and this bad part will stop. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And I didn't. And then I had this enlightenment and then it was over. And I'm like, I'm never taking mushrooms again. But it was quite an experience and I don't regret it. True story.
Good for you, dude. No, yeah. Hey, I love it, bro. What's interesting about that is that it's different for everybody. If you look into John Allegro, in his book, The Sacred Mushroom and the Cross, then you will find that it is believed, according to Gnostic text, according to John Allegro, who is a Aramaic scholar of 20 years, world-renowned, that Jesus was a part of a mushroom-eating, desert-wandering, nomadic hippie cult. Essentially, that he was like a desert-wandering, nomadic hippie that ate mushrooms and like hung out. And that's why the Hebrews hated him. That's why the Pharisees and the Sadducees fucking hated him, because he was like this like hippie, and he didn't have any like status like they had. He was uprooting their whole system, and he was just some dude as far as they were concerned.
I mean, so far the way you laid it out just then, it tracks, folks. It kind of tracks. Ochs, where are you at on this? Because I know what's your Catholic take on all this?
I'm the Catholic take may not allow for hippie mushroom cult, but I want to thank Jacob for coming on because we've gone deeper in this show I think than probably ever have, and
Yes, for sure.
But for real, we've really covered some interesting stuff. It's a little bit of philosophy meets history. I love it. That's my subject, and I've just really enjoyed tonight. So thank you for that. I've also got to hop off right here at 10:30. I'm about a minute over. I got another thing, and I apologize for that. I got to leave y'all, but I will rewatch the last bit of the show so I don't miss anything because this has been fantastic.
All right, Ochs. Well, thanks for stopping by. And I think it might be I mean, I could just see this going on for hours, but I'm kind of winding down as well. But Jake, this has been great. We did get your Twitter link out there. It's at American Shaman. That's what we were getting wrong. Is we were looking at.
Can you pull it up on the screen and scroll through it really quick? I want to see what it looks like. I want to see what other people are seeing because I don't think people are seeing what it is that I'm seeing. Because, dude, I looked at my Twitter profile the other day. I logged out of my Twitter, and then I went back, and I thought I was like already logged in, so I tried to go back to my profile, and I realized I was logged out. But I got to see my profile when I wasn't logged in, and my posts are nothing like what they actually look like when I log in. The government fucking arranged my profile and arranged my post to. Let's just say
let's get that on
they
the
arranged it.
Some breaking news tonight. That'd be helpful if we can actually find out from the correct view, from the outside view. We can get that on there.
Yeah, no, this is
cool. I'm
this
just
is
curious.
wild.
I want to know. You know, I like performing experiments. So.
I want to make sure. Okay, hold on. Is this
But
right? Let's try this one.
Nope.
No.
That's America Shaman
Nope.
CBD. That says white
It
supplement.
doesn't even
or
say
white
CBD
settlement.
in the thing there. All right, hang on.
It says CBD in the. There you go. It's
Hang
America,
on,
America with an A and then no N and then
Oh.
Shaman, America Shaman.
Okay, I got this.
Yeah.
I got this.
So yeah, dude, the shit that's on my Twitter, I just basically gave everybody the open file to the fucking Epstein files. Like, if you want to see the first page or two of what the Epstein files might look like, just go to my fucking Twitter. I swear to you, like, the stuff that is there will help you to understand why they're so worried about releasing the Epstein files. You think you can fucking stomach the Epstein files? Go to my fucking Twitter. Go to that profile, scroll through that shit. The last couple of days, I did a thread the other day. The first one I did about the Epstein files is the one I did about Will Smith and Charlie Sheen. That was a couple of days ago. The one I did yesterday was about DC and about all the scandals and the satanic ritual abuse and the child and human trafficking abroad, how that relates to satanic vampirism and Epstein Island, all sorts of shit.
Guys, I'm fucking dying here. I put in America Shaman. I'm gonna pull
Yeah,
this up.
that's
So
what it
am I
It's-
spelling
here
this
it is.
wrong?
Yeah,
Look,
it's
No, see,
Right
no,
here,
click
Bill.
that. Click. No, see,
Oh,
there I
I
am,
found
right
it.
there.
I'm an idiot. There's an underscore.
There's an
there.
underscore.
Okay, there we go.
No, there's
Okay,
not.
is
That's
that
not
right?
mine. Go back. No,
Son
that's
of
not
a-
mine. The underscore. I don't
Here,
have the underscore.
I got
Go
it
back.
up here.
If
No,
you go
it's-
back,
it's-
no, go back to the now click on that. It says there Occult Apocalypse Show. You see that America Shaman next to Return of Cappy? Click on that
That's it.
America Shaman right there, because that's me right there.
Dude, they
They
are
won't
so
pull up my
hiding
profile,
that
bro.
shit. They made that fucking
Yes,
impossible.
I fucking told you. I know,
What the
dude. Scroll
fuck?
on it. Can we go back to that? Can we go
They
back to that? I
don't
wanna
want
see it
him.
again.
They don't want this out there.
Yeah, can you scroll down a little bit? Let's
Yeah,
see it.
just say
Let's see
when.
what they got. Keep going. Keep going. Just keep going. We're gonna see how, because that's Nick. That's Rothschild. He needs to be called out. Okay, yeah, we're good. Never mind. Okay, they're not fucking with my shit. At least you're logged in though. It's when I'm not logged in.
Well, I put in
But anyway, it
America Shaman, and it didn't even fucking pop up. I had to click on that ad
'Cause I'm shadowing
that was in another
Yeah, you
post.
should
So
at
right
least
there I go.
pop
It's a little fucking weird, folks. It's a little weird.
Because I'm shadow banned. Didn't I tell you earlier the fucking NSA has me siloed, bro? Didn't I fucking tell you?
Yeah, I've
Dude,
never
let
heard
me
it
tell you
as
something.
siloed. What is
You
that?
guys would not believe the truth if I told it to you. I mean, I told you earlier I was advising the fucking president, dude. I wouldn't lie to you about that.
Didn't think you were. And Don says, yeah, they're definitely
I know,
hiding
I'm
his
just saying,
account from search.
Yeah, they're hiding everything because of the shit that's in my fucking account. Go to the account, search through it, dude. It'll blow your fucking mind. I guarantee it.
Here's the problem, folks. If y'all go and y'all search that account, it's not going to pull up. So you'll have to put in America Shaman, no underscore or anything, and then it'll like another post will pop up first, and then you got to click on the app mention in that post. That's fucking wild. But here's what's cool about it. I have a feeling you touched on a lot of that stuff tonight that they're not wanting to get out there, so we got it out there on a live show. What are you going to do about that, Deep State?
Amen.
I shouldn't ask that, actually.
Fucking
I
A.
could probably do a lot. Not with my
Dude, you have no
motherfucking
idea.
high-frequency beams and shit, though. Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go.
No, we're good.
That's what I'm talking
We're good.
about.
Jake, it's
Fuck
been
me, dude.
wonderful. It's been fantastic. We'd love to have you back. I thought it went great. Ochs has peaced out. But yeah, guys, at America Shaman. And you're going to have to do some work on it to find it. But you've heard what this guy's been saying. They're obviously wanting it not to get out there. So they're making it hard to find. But you got what I feel is just a little taste of it all tonight. And Jake, thank you so much for coming on and spreading that.
Thank you very much for having me, Vill. It was a very nice conversation. I'm glad we got over that hump there in that beginning part and really got a chance to have a heart-to-heart.
Yeah, we did, and I'm glad we did too. Sir, you have a wonderful night. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we hope to have you back at some point. And just reach out anytime you want to come on. We'll totally have you on. So thanks again, and good luck and Godspeed, sir.
God bless.
All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful night, too. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. And, yeah, let's see if I can figure out this outro. But anyway, what a great show. I had a really good time tonight. Let's give this a go. You ready? Nick's not here to make it work. So I'm just going to... Nope, that wasn't it either. Let's just do this. Wait, maybe it is working. I don't know. It's got a little... Hey, it worked! Woo!